Meeting to order. Ms. Byron, may I have roll call, please?
Miss Anderson,
Here.
Miss Dawson,
Here.
Miss Harrington, Mr. Rickett.
Here.
Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the presence of a quorum.
Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
May I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, may I have a motion for closed session, please?
Pursuant to 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, the Orange County School Board will convene a closed meeting for the following: discussion of personnel or the performance of a division employee as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia for resignation, termination, transfer, employment, salary adjustment, and retirement of employees. Discussion of pupil personnel as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A2 for early admission, waiver of compulsory attendance, out-of-county, out-of-district request, and student discipline.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're in closed session. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. May I have closed session certification, please?
Whereas the Orange County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the Orange County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Byer, may I have roll call, please?
Miss Anderson,
Aye.
Miss Dawson,
Aye.
Mr. Rickett.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the vote as follows. 3 yes votes and no votes. The resolution is approved by a 3-0 vote.
Thank you. Dr. Hornick, deposition of personnel actions.
Yes, ma'am. Recommend the approval of personnel actions as presented in closed session.
May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the personnel agenda to include resignation, employment, salary adjustment, and transfer of staff, and coaching and extracurricular appointments.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor by saying aye. Deposition of pupil personnel actions.
Yes, ma'am. Recommend also the approval of the pupil personnel actions as presented in closed session.
May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the waiver of compulsory attendance under the religious exemption for case numbers PP 2025-19 and PP 2025-20.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we will have a 24-minute recess. Meeting back to order. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Byram, do we have any speakers this evening?
Yes, ma'am. We have one speaker, Justin Tibio.
Okay. I'd like to open up for public comment.
Hello, I'll be quick. My wife's a teacher at one of the elementary schools here, and she teaches the IPB students, which are the students with behavioral issues. My concern is a couple weeks ago, she was assaulted by one of her students, ended up having to have emergency airway surgery in Baltimore. This isn't the first time this student has assaulted her, one of her coworkers, or another student. And at what time can we take the least restrictive environment for one student and it becomes the most restrictive environment for everybody else? There's got to be a way to protect the teachers as well as the other students, despite and still being in line with the legal ramifications of IEPs and stuff like that. And I also have an issue with her severe shellfish allergy. She submitted a waiver through her principal. They got fish removed from the school's menu. But she's having an issue now with teachers bringing in shellfish and cooking it in the one microwave in the one teacher's lounge in the school. And she's had probably 5 or 6 anaphylactic reactions because of that, because her classroom's right next to this. If schools can remove peanut butter, can we also look into maybe removing shellfish and seafood and being, not allowed at all in the schools? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. That was everybody?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. I will. I'll close public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda. Minutes, financial reports, and monthly operating bills. I have a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the October 20th, 2025 and November 7th, 2025 meetings, the November 2025 financial report and monthly operating bills, and the food service report.
May I have a second?
I would second that motion.
All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Action items? Dr. Hornick?
Yes, ma'am. This evening, we're bringing forward for the board's consideration an out-of-state overnight field trip request. If you see the date of this trip is far in advance from Miss Day Owens and her DECA students looking to go to Atlanta for the International Career and Development Conference. They were looking to get the blessing of the board to begin pursuing this field trip so that they could know that it is a go and begin their fundraising efforts in order to prepare to go in April.
Are there any questions on the field trip?
I have a question regarding field trip requests in general, but I'll bring that up at the board comment section.
Would we like to move forward on this? May I have a motion?
Move to approve the, ICDC conference field trip request.
May I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. Also this evening, we have a request for a supplemental appropriation. Recently, and I believe I forwarded this to the board, we received a computer science leaders grant for $75,000. And we have had a number of educators apply to be a part of this cohort. More people interested than we have spots for. And so we're very excited about that opportunity. But this is to seek your approval to appropriate the funds, and this would be an increase in revenues and expenses for $75,000.
Are there any questions?
No. I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the supplemental appropriation fiscal year 2026 budget.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. Next, I'd like to bring Ms. Dawson forward. Yearly, we are required to present information on our pupil-teacher ratio, and so Ms. Dawson is here to do the pupil-teacher ratio report. A number of folks had a hand in this, including Dr. Wolfrey Honecker as well as Ms. Ayler. Yvonne, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. Hornick, and members of the board. As Dr. Hornick said, the Code of Virginia requires that every year before January 1st, we report on pupil-teacher ratios throughout our division. As a reminder, they're calculated differently at the elementary and the secondary levels. Elementary is very straightforward. You take the number of students in the classroom by the number of teachers in that grade. So if we've got 3 kindergarten teachers and 25 kids, that's how you divide that up to get your ratios. At the secondary level, you use course sections and teacher numbers for that. So just as an example, if we're looking at kindergarten and we're looking at Unionville, the number of teachers versus the number of students we have, we're at a 17-to-1 ratio. At Orange Elementary, we're at a 20-to-1 ratio. We are required to have a 24-to-1 ratio based on the SOQs. Now, we do have our schools that have the class size reduction funds. So this is a little bit misleading because this number does not include our Connect teachers, our ELL teachers, our gifted teachers. You can't include those in these numbers. So when you see like Orange Elementary at 20-to-1, it's less than that if you include all of our Connect teachers and our resource teachers into those numbers. But if you go to the secondary level, we'll use Locust Grove Middle School as an example. In English, they are sitting at 20-to-1. And Prospect is at 19-to-1. The SOQs say we should be at 24-to-1, so we are well within that. And then at the high school, an example would be, let's go math. We're at 23-to-1 where we need to be at 24-to-1. So we are well within our SOQs. And at the bottom, you'll see the core personnel. So again, at the elementary, it's just taking those classroom teachers in that core. Same at the secondary level. And then for the secondary, you'll see the number of course sections that are taught, both at the middle and the high school. Any questions about that? Great. Oh, yeah?
I do. On your, right under core personnel, it says core P/T ratio. What is the P?
Pupil teacher.
Pupil teacher ratio. And that's based on all of the teachers that touch those students, not, or just the?
Just the core.
Just
the core. So just
Okay.
just your English, math, science, and social studies at the secondary, or at the elementary level, you're talking by grade level. And this excludes any of our students who are in outside placement. This excludes our alternative education students, so we do not include those in these numbers, and this does not include Head Start. Okay.
Thank you. Talk to me about the SOQ just a little bit. What happens if we do not meet the SOQ?
Judy? If we don't meet the SOQ. At the elementary level, let's use kindergarten. I believe if we're not meeting the SOQ, we have to put in an instructional assistant. We have to do some sort of supports in there so that we are meeting those SOQs. But again, these numbers are a little bit misleading because this does not calculate in our resource and our Connect teachers. This is just that core.
But is this what the state would make their decisions on, or would they put that other information in?
For the class size reduction, we can include our Connect and resource teachers.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how come we have the 27-to-1 in Gordon Barber?
Gordon Barber, grade 3.
That's got to be a misprint. That's incorrect.
Okay, thank you.
I can go back and look at that.
That'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you get a chance.
It's, the answer is probably, it's 17.
It could be.
If I would have to venture, I think that was a typo.
And finally, I would just like to
That's
say.
a class size reduction grade. There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
knew there was
probably
something
is
weird
that,
for it.
yeah, I probably hit a 2 instead of a 1.
I can do that. And finally, I would like to just point out that for almost all of our classes, I believe, maybe math 9 and 12, I can't quite, I guess I could look at my thing here. Anyway, everything is substantially lower than the SOQ, so I think that that is a great statement for our division, that not only are we trying very hard to show respect for our teachers by increasing their pay this last year, we are really focused on doing what is in the best interest for both the students and the teachers by keeping these class sizes lower. So thank you, Dr. Hornick. Thank
Yes,
you very
ma'am,
much.
thank you.
The only thing I would add, Ms. Harrington, is you're right, but then I look at, let's use our Orange Elementary kindergarten. When you say you've got 20 kids in a classroom, we still have work to do.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think it's like 12 or 14 that you have
Would
to
be
get to,
ideal,
to
yeah.
show a real difference, but it's better than 27.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vaughn. And then next, I believe Laura will be I'm going to handle it more as a kind of a state of the schools broadly, but it will include information about our accreditation. And so I'd like to start this evening, to give the update about kind of where we stand to the school board. Of course, everything that we are doing remains in line with our strategic plan. I'd like to thank the board for their ongoing support. And just a reminder that the 5 areas of focus, go ahead, Laura, for the strategic plan: instructional programming, safe learning environment, stakeholder engagement support, recruiting and retention, technology, and digital citizenship. And so last Tuesday, the 9th, the statewide data for schools was published by the VDOE. And this is the information that we have. Let's start at the elementary school. Well, let me begin with separating out, to go back to your question, Sandy, that you asked. If you aren't meeting your standards of quality, you run the risk of not being accredited. And so now the accreditation and accountability in Virginia schools is now separated. So accreditation is based on, certifying that we are meeting the required elements in the standards of quality, as well as a number of other factors. And then when we submit that report, we are either accredited, conditionally accredited, or denied accreditation. And of course, that is a component of our the document that comes out from the VDOE. On the other side is the accountability, which is what is likely more familiar to folks through the community, because this is, for all intents and purposes, the numerical, quantitative data that folks, I think, are more used to seeing: pass rates on state tests, number of students enrolled in upper level courses, graduation rate, dropout rate, attendance rates. And so you have some factors that go into the elementary, middle, and high schools. It is essentially a large spreadsheet where the information is inputted into the document, and it will essentially spit out a final number, and you get your performance categories: distinguished, on track, off track, or needs intensive supports, are based on that numerical value. And then there are additional penalties, so to speak, if you, in addition to the state requirements, if you aren't meeting federal benchmarks for improvement. And then ultimately that gets reported to the public. And so I say all of that to show that within this system, go ahead, Laura, a little bit more about accreditation, things that it includes our policies on promoting and retention, graduation requirements, staffing requirements, safety and facilities provision, parental notification, making sure that you are accounting for all the standards of learning, having a long-range comprehensive plan, which is our strategic plan, being in compliance. If you have federally identified schools, you have a number of additional measures and things that you have to meet and certify that you attain. And so the long story short is we hit all of these at all 9 of our sites, so all 9 of our buildings are fully accredited. We are fortunate tonight to have our coordinator of our student information system, our programs, and our division director of testing, Evan Straub. Evan, feel free to come to the podium here if there's anything that you wanted to add with accreditation before I continue to accountability. Did I miss anything?
There's nothing else regarding.
Okay. So that is the accreditation side. And as you can see here, as far as the accreditation status, we are meeting all of the required benchmarks at each of our sites. So all of our buildings are fully accredited based on the data from the 24-25 school year. Good here, Evan?
Yes.
Okay, next, please. So now we'll move into the accountability side. And as I had alluded to a few moments ago, you have a data that is entered essentially into a spreadsheet, and it gives a final number. And if that final number is 90 or above, your building is rated as distinguished. If you have 80 to 89, you're on track. 65 to 79, off track. Below 65, you are quantified as needing intensive supports. Additionally, here, it is possible that a building could have a score on the state standards of a 79, which means the school would be rated off track. However, if the school also has not met federal benchmarks, you get essentially a double jeopardy. And so even though your score is a 79, your status for the school year will be knocked down an additional level to needs intensive support. So there are some buildings throughout the Commonwealth that have 80 or above and should be notated as on track. However, because they didn't meet certain federal requirements in certain subgroups, they might have a score of 82, but they are seen as off track. This is one of the great perks of our new accreditation system.
Dr. Hornet?
Yes.
You are referring to student academic
Yes.
achievement? Okay, not the state of the facility.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Next, please, Laura. In elementary schools, this is a high-level breakdown of how student achievement is measured. And so 65% of the score comes from what the state delineates as mastery. And within that, you can see the breakdowns as it stands right now, and this will change again, likely. But as it stands right now for the data that we're about to show you, 22.5% of that 65% is how students perform on the reading SOL. 22.5 is how we're performing on math SOLs, 10% on science. And then in addition, we have English language learners throughout the school division, and they take a language acquisition test, so to speak, called the WIDA Access, which gauges their level of acquisition of the English language. And based on their scores in previous years, they have to grow or demonstrate a certain amount of growth in order to meet this progress. Within growth, the state for last year for the data used a system called VIVAS, which essentially looked at each student and each student's performance on a particular subject, like the math SOL. And it would look at how the student did in at least 2 other previous testing administrations. Correct, Evan?
It looks at all of their previous testing.
They have to have at least they at least had to take one math test previous. Okay. So we don't have growth in, for example, third grade, because we begin our SOL testing in third grade. And so growth gets calculated in fourth grade. And so it will look at a fourth grade student's math performance on the SOL in third grade, as well as look at other students throughout the entire Commonwealth who had similar score reports, and it spits out and predicts where that particular student should be when they take the fourth grade test. And if the student significantly outperforms that predictor, you get a certain amount of points. If they hit it within basically a standard deviation, you get a certain amount of points. And if you don't meet it at certain deviations, you get fewer points. Very convoluted system that will also be changing. The state budget is not going to cover VBOS any longer. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you at the moment exactly how growth is going to be calculated for the students that are currently sitting in our schools. And so we still have to figure that out. And then in elementary schools, the readiness component is tied directly at this point to chronic absenteeism. And so with that, what we did is we took, because this is the first year of the new accountability system, it is different than previous years because comparing the new system to the old system would be showing you apples and oranges. It wouldn't make any sense because it's not reported in any of the same way. So what we did is we went back to the most recent year previous, which was 23-24, and Evan inputted all of our data from 23-24 into the new system so that we could compare where we would have been had we been utilizing this system as it currently stands 2 years ago versus where we stand currently. And so you will see that each of our schools stayed the same, in most cases went up, and the greatest feather in our cap here that we're incredibly proud of is that for the first time since I have been here, and probably previous, Evan, you might know how many years it has been, we do not have any schools that are federally identified. That is massive progress. Do you have any details, Evan, as far as how long it has been? I'd say probably at least 2019.
I was thinking about, it's probably the year before COVID, because I know that there were about 2 years that we didn't have the accreditation system sit with COVID, so it was probably the year prior.
Yeah. And so you can see, and these are the final scores ultimately at the end. And so we have 4 buildings that will be rated on track, and our elementary and primary school are right there at the 79. We're going to get them over the hump this year, without a doubt. There is no rounding. You know, if that was 79.5, it does not round up. It is the number is the number is the number. And so that is where our 6 schools stand. The one thing I would like to point out, when you look at Unionville and Lightfoot, and the elementary and the primary school in Locust Grove, as I said a few moments ago, we do not give SOL tests before 3rd grade. And so Unionville and Locust Grove Primary, all of their growth and all of their mastery and how they are judged are all based on how the 3rd through the 5th graders are performing at Locust Grove Elementary and Lightfoot, right? They have no testing, so there is no SOL testing to utilize. So their data is merged. The only thing that is separated between these buildings is their chronic absenteeism. So that's why you see a few tenths of a point difference between the buildings, because all of their chronic absenteeism rates are not exact. So basically 90% of Unionville's accountability is based on Lightfoot, and 90% of the primary schools is based on the elementary school. The only component that is judged standalone is each building's, the 10% that is allotted to chronic absenteeism. So that's why there's a touch of a difference between, so 0.4 of a point between Lightfoot and Unionville, and 0.2 of a point between the primary and the elementary school. Next, Laura. Next is middle school, and since I've already explained the elementary school, it is essentially the exact same metric for all intents and purposes, except the percentages are a little bit different. Instead of it being 65, 20, 15, it's 60, 20, 20. 60% for mastery in the same areas that I previously annotated. 20% in growth, measured the same way with VIVAS that I just spoke about. A little bit different in readiness. The half of the 20% is tied to chronic absenteeism, and the other half is tied to advanced coursework, which is essentially for us at this point upper level math in the middle schools, in particular our 8th graders who are advancing and taking high school tests. And so the state will look at, and we will report the number of students in each middle school who are taking what could be a high school course in middle school, and how many of those students ultimately were successful on the SOL, which is generally 95 to 100%. You know, if any of them are unsuccessful, it might be one across the school division as being advanced students. If you go to the next slide. Again, we did the same type of work here. Evan took the 23-24 middle school data and put it into the new accreditation system to get where we would have been 2 years ago versus where we were at the end of last year. Again, neither of these two buildings were federally identified, and both made significant progress over where we were 2 years ago. Next is high school, which is considerably different. The only thing that is really the same is mastery. Mastery is 50% of the high school metric, and it is on the same factors that you have previously heard, how students do on reading, math, and science SOLs, as well as the performance and growth of our English language learners. A large percentage of the high school accountability system is tied to readiness. And so 5% is the chronic absenteeism. 5% is they look at our 6-year extended graduation rate. We have a percentage of students based on their IEPs that are allowed to stay beyond their 4 years of high school and are allowed to attend up through 21, 22 years old. And so this accounts for students who are completing after a certain number of years with an applied studies diploma. And 25% is tied to Virginia's new 3E readiness framework, which I will show you momentarily. And as you can see, graduation is looked at twice in kind of two different areas: the 6-year extended graduation rate in the readiness, but then the more commonly understood and commonly reported federal graduation indicator, which is the 4-year rate. Is 15% of the high school accountability metric. So if you go to the next slide, this will break down at a high level what the 3E readiness indicator means. It is an acronym for enrollment, employment, and enlistment. And so enrollment, you can see, is a number of different ways that students demonstrate enrolling in upper level courses and being successful in said courses. And so a student can earn the most points, so to speak, by actually finishing an associate's degree by the time they leave high school. You can get a point for 3 or more credit-bearing college-ready scores on an AP, IB, Cambridge. For us, it's AP. 3 or more dual credit courses with a B grade, or earning an early college scholar certificate. So essentially, enrollment is looking at the accounting for upper-level courses that high school students are taking for credit while in high school, broadly speaking. Employment is where we have done a tremendous amount of work, and this is major credit to Renee and Ellen for the work that they have done with placing students and getting CTE completers with a state-approved industry credential in a high-demand field. Work-based learning, high-quality work-based learning experiences that's designed and recognized by the board, receiving an industry credential. So this is where the employability side and how our students are preparing for life after high school gets accounted for. And then at the bottom is enlistment, which is exactly what you think. Students taking and performing well on ASVAB, and also then the state is considering how to add 1.25 points here in enlistment for students who get certain qualifying scores and then actually enlist during their time in high school and are going to serve our country in the armed services. And so this is what the 3E readiness framework looks like. And so we took the data 2 years ago from Orange County High School, put it into the system, and compared that to the 24-25 data. We were not federally identified, and Orange County High School will have a distinction of distinguished based on last year's data. Also, these might be a little bit different than you have seen before. I rounded them up or down based on if it was 0.5 or above, it went up. If it was 0.4 down, I rounded it down. But this is what our attendance rates look at. The 21-22 school year was the year prior to my arrival here in Orange, so that's where they stood July 1st, 2022 when I came in working with folks. And you can see each of our buildings is making great strides towards improving. And overall, we've seen a 20% improvement across the board in our attendance here in Orange County. If you would go to the next slide, please,
Dr.
Laura.
Hornick,
Yes.
Can you explain what's the difference between this attendance rate and chronic absenteeism? How does that?
They're the same. So if you are chronically absent, so this is the percentage of students who are chronically absent, meaning this is the percent of students that are missing 18 or more school days, 10% of the school year, 18 or more school days. And so this is the attendance rate. This is the number of students who are chronically absent, the percentage of students that are chronically absent.
Thank you very much.
There, absolutely. Our dropout rate at the high school has come down considerably, and that is really good news. That is absolutely, without a doubt, a trend in the right direction. And next is our graduation rate, which shouldn't be a surprise since the dropout rate is going down. Summarily, consequently, the graduation rate should be going up, which it is. We were 4 years ago actually below 90%, which was not good at all, and we are now moving in the direction of upwards of 97 and 0.5% graduation rate from the class of 2025. Evan, was there anything else that I missed that I should have hit?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
I think you got everything.
Any questions from the board about the data? And then moving forward at the work session in January, we will have each of our 9 principals here who are going to come in and actually speak to the data, provide a brief reminder of where we stand, and then they're going to highlight key components of their school improvement plan and where they stand currently and the types of things that they are trying to accomplish to fill the gaps and achieve even more success. So we thought it would be helpful to kind of split this so it isn't as long of a presentation, give you guys the data and the information ahead of time, and then within the month you will hear from our building administrators where they will come and speak briefly but comprehensively about their school improvement plans. And so we're set for the 26th, I believe, of January is the work session, is our plan to have each of the principals here. Anything before I hit just some successes that I think are just a really good end of the year check?
I'm having a little bit of a disconnect, and I'm not sure if this is the time, or if not, you can direct me to the session you were referring to. It looks like the high school has done really well, 97.5 distinguished. How do you align that with the 31% chronic absenteeism? I don't understand when the second thing there was about attendance and 5% absenteeism. So
Well, the first thing is at the high school level, attendance is the least impactful, right? When you look at elementary schools, it's 10%, middle schools, it's 10%, high schools, it's 5%.
Okay.
A second thing is what this means is our high school teachers are spending a ton of time doing everything they can to get kids caught up, which takes a toll on our teachers. Currently, where the high school stands, Evan, they were somewhere around a 19% as of the most recent.
The one that I ended up doing this past week, last week, I believe that they were around 18 or 19%.
Right, and so the trend, the downward trend is continuing. Evan monitors school attendance in 10-day increments throughout the year, and so the latest run at the high school was, I think it rounded to 19. It was 18 and change, and so basically if the school year were to end today, we would have 18% and change at the high school. But I think it's a lot of time spent to get kids caught up. And another thing I think to keep in mind, the way high schools are evaluated right now is more on a cohort model. So the data that you see is a cumulative model for each of the students and their performance over 4 years, right? As opposed to a middle school, which was focused on last year, right? And so those are it's really differences in how the accountability system is measured and applied. And so no matter what you do, there is always going to be a ton of misnomers and confusing factors, no matter how hard anybody works to really make it clear.
And so from a perspective of being on the ground, seeing what's happening, teachers, is this correct? Are we going in that great direction?
Oh, yes.
Again, it's concerning 50 to 31 to 18%, but definitely dramatically improving.
Correct.
And so what you're seeing out there is the things that we are doing are continuing to improve.
Correct.
With our scores.
And if you think about it, over 4 years, we've cut the attendance rate by 20%. Unfortunately, we started at 51%.
Right, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's hard to believe that 4 years ago, more than half of our high school students were missing 18 or more days. Right. And as of this moment today, that number's 18%. And so it's steadily come down. And if you go back a few slides, if you look, it's following suit with the other schools. The biggest difference being they were double-digit percents, almost higher than just about everybody. Now, I will tell you, and Evan, if there's anything you want to speak to this, this is not a phenomenon that started in 21-22. I did some research going back even to 2015, 2014, back and back. Our high school, for you name the reason, from what I saw, every bit of 10 years or more, has always been by far our worst performing within the realm of chronic absenteeism. So this is not a phenomenon that started at Orange County High School, the year after COVID. They were behind all of the other schools previously. And so it has seemingly been an uphill battle at the high school for many years. I hope the trend that they have continues, because if they finish at 18%, now they're really starting to get down more where we want to see them, and like and of course our long-term goal and our strategic plan by the time we get to the end is to have all of these down under double digits, right? So we're 9% or below in all these buildings, and so some are farther along than others, but it's definitely an achievable goal.
And I know that you may remember this, but I'm also definitely interested from, District 5 down there, if this is relative to the transportation issues and busing, and I'd love to get a little bit more information and feedback on that, but not right now. It doesn't have to be
Yep.
right now.
Anything else from board members, or anything, Evan, that I forgot?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I think it's important we highlight some successes. Big shout out to Justin Sarver for your work, Justin, on getting this next layer of safety in place. Centegix is now, we can say that we are, we're complete. We are cleaning up areas where folks missed training, et cetera. But, we are to the point where we have reached substantial completion of the onboarding of Centegix. And it has, the day before Thanksgiving, Brandon, Justin, a few of us went, maybe it was Marshall, went to different schools, and Justin was working, and Laura and Justin was working with the 911 center, and we tested all the 9 sites, the 10 sites, 11 technically, to make sure that they were connected and ready to roll with the 911 center. These badges have already been used for your lower level staff alerts, somebody that just needs help and most of them have been for medical emergencies. I don't know if there's anything else, Justin, you wanted to talk about with Centegix, but this is absolutely a huge success that this board should celebrate.
It is not a project that took place in a vacuum. There's a lot of people involved with this from the start, all the community involvement, the Blue Ribbon Panel, the Safe and Supportive Schools Task Force. This is a very heavy lift for technology. The very small but mighty team has done a fantastic job of implementing this from start to finish, and I am very proud of the way that the project went.
You should be, Justin. This is a huge success, and I'm getting lots of positive feedback from staff, and it is definitely an excellent platform. Next, and Marshall and Justin, I'd like to thank you on your work on Perryweather. This is going to help us in particular tremendously with athletics and activities, and keeping us updated with lightning, excessive heat, etc., and giving alerts, immediate notifications, much like Centegix, immediate notifications to administrators and safety personnel. That is a massive improvement. Next, please, Laura. I also want to thank technology and all of our administrators for being willing to go down the rabbit hole with me of establishing an anonymous online reporting platform, which has proven to be helpful, useful, and beneficial as another way to get tips and to help us investigate potential problems and for us to be much more proactive than reactive. And we've had a number of situations that we were able to get ahead of, coordinate with law enforcement, coordinate with mental health professionals, and step in and intervene before tragedy struck. And so this has been a great tool for us. Next, please, Laura. I'd like to thank Justin, Marshall, and our folks from Cloud 12 who helped us acquire, after many years of not receiving grant funding, $250,000 for the Virginia School Safety Equipment Grant, of which we're using all of that money plus some additional funds from our capital line to replace the camera system at Locust Grove Middle School, which should be done by the time we return from break, Marshall, I believe. And the project that we are about to venture into, which is to completely overhaul the high school PA system. Anything you want to talk about there, Justin?
Other than it's a tremendous need, and this was a great opportunity to fund it without having an impact on our taxpayers or minimal impact.
And we're also establishing it in a way that there is a free zone, so once we finish construction of a CT building, that it can be seamlessly integrated into the high school PA system. And that was some foresight there. Anything else you want to add, Justin?
We'll probably follow the same path for the next couple of years to try to replace every system, every PA system at all of the rest of our buildings. High school's by far the worst, but we have older buildings with older infrastructure, so any opportunity we can take to upgrade the infrastructure, we need to take it. Thank you for your support with that.
Thank you, Justin. Next, please, Laura. Our recognition, and we went out today and did some recognitions. This is very simple but very heartwarming. We get a chance to go out and recognize employees. This is Ellen Daniels, who is a absolutely fantastic math teacher at Locust Grove Middle School. One of the community members submitted an OC champ for her, and it's just a great opportunity. The kids love it. They like hopping in the picture, and you can. And it is really meaningful. We delivered one today to Lightfoot, to the bookkeeper, Jennifer Cullinan, who is fantastic, and it really means a lot for these staff members. And that is a success to build the culture and climate in the workspace. Next, please, Laura. This board really should be proud of being willing to, again, go down the road of looking creatively at lab school funding. These are students from 4 different counties who are attending the Future Educators Academy. We have a number of students in both the first and second year, the junior and senior year of FEA, who are going to be leaving school with an associate's degree. And this is a wonderful opportunity. And of course, we also have our lab school at Mary Washington, the Academy of Technology and Innovation. Next, please, Laura. If there's anything you would like to add here, Yvonne, please do. But we've been very, very pleased with our partnership with Grand Canyon, most notably because we are not contractually tied at all, and we do not have to pay them a dime. We are providing them the opportunity to come in and get face time with employees, in particular instructional assistants and substitutes, for the Grand Canyon folks to speak with our employees about, to see a vision and to see an affordable path where they can complete their degree, and have they ever been so inclined to complete their credentials and become a certified teacher. And we brought this in September. And we already have, I don't know, 8 or 9 employees.
We have about 8, and he was doing a second round at our building. So.
Right, and so we've already had pretty much 8 that have started or are about to start. And so this is very impactful. I received an email today from one of our instructional assistants who was just, he was already, actually, this is really interesting, he was already in Grand Canyon, and after we, said we would partner and provide you this access, he's now receiving a massive discount over what he was paying previously for the same program, due to the fact that we're now engaging with Grand Canyon. And so you're talking about building the teacher pipeline, from the FEA on the previous slide to Grand Canyon, as well as iTeach and other alternate licensure pathways, finding ways to build our own, because just every school division stealing each other's people just moves people around. It doesn't actually increase the number of available people. It just shuffles people. We need to increase the pipeline. I think this is a success that this board should absolutely celebrate. Next, please, Laura. Interim teachers, these have been a tremendous kind of outside the box thought. How this works is we have folks who are moving through any number of programs, whether it be iTeach or Grand Canyon, or they were already in Liberty or Merriwater, or wherever else, and they are within about a year of completing their degree credentials. We offered them an interim teacher tag with a salary and the as well as access to our benefits, as well as tuition reimbursement. We have done this now for 2 years. We have had, through those 2 years, 10 individuals who have been onboarded as an interim teacher. Out of those 10, only 1 has left the division for factors well beyond anybody's control. That was a personal needed move, so nothing we could do there. 2 of them have now completed, and 1 that the board just approved this evening in closed session, have completed and are now full-time teachers in our school division. And the other 7 are still active in the programs, and I anticipate all of them completing and being teachers within Orange. So again, this is going to be 9 people that were doing a job in Orange County schools different from teaching, that are now going to be, they're in classrooms, they're working on their craft, they're continuing their education, they're getting access to benefits as well as for tuition reimbursement, and they're succeeding in becoming teachers. And so that has been of great benefit to us. So thank you for Yvonne for helping with that. A tremendous success that this board should celebrate is fighting hard to get an overall pay raise for teachers across the scale. Last year was 5.19%. This was 6% and more at the top levels, closer to 3% at the bottom levels, at the lower end of the scale where we're more competitive. This is where it came out overall. And this was from everything that I can find from press releases as well as discussions with neighboring superintendents. This was the highest percentage raise that I saw in any of our nearby competitors. Most of them did the 3% raise. And so this is definitely something that this board should celebrate, and I'm just really proud to have worked through that and continue to work for that, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Next, please, Laura. Of course, and we've discussed this, the Career and Tech Ed, the facility construction project. We have done presentations on that. Moving forward and finding a path for CTE and the 100% commitment to expanding offerings, in particular in the umbrella of trade and industrial, which is kind of your traditional heavy vocational trades like masonry, carpentry, electricity, plumbing, HVAC, welding, etc., auto tech. That is a huge success that we continue to build upon. Next, please, Laura. I'd like to thank this board for supporting us. It is always good when students are involved more in sports, and the board may not fully remember, but in this budget we added coaching stipends to expand middle school sports options, and we added girls volleyball, girls soccer, and boys soccer this year. And so the boys soccer season and the girls volleyball season were complete in the fall, and girls soccer will be a spring sport. And so this is I'd just like to thank the coaches. This was an inaugural season. It was a lot of success. This will help build programs. It has kids more involved. Some of these now are to the point where Yvonne has been evaluating them, and they have so many kids that are interested, and the teams are so big that we're going to have to look at adding assistant coaching stipends now, because numerically for the supervision and the coaching of the sport, we need it. And so that, the fact that we were able to do this, we finalized the budget in May, and these students were competing with uniforms on fields, with transportation, with coaches in place. The athletic director's taking care of it in August, right? And so that is a monumental feat that these good people made look easy. And so this is a shout out to Austin Henderson and Marlene Rombach at Locust Grove Middle, to Renee Burke and Vanessa Ward, as well as Elizabeth Lloyd at Prospect Heights Middle School for making and helping these programs come to fruition. Mike Neely sent me a tremendous list of recent accomplishments within the high school. And, he talked about field hockey winning the JV championship this year, varsity making it to the Region 4D semifinals. Of course, last year, varsity field hockey made it to the VHSAL state playoffs. And probably the thing that I'm impressed with the most is that our coaching staff has started a youth field hockey developmental league to get girls playing sooner, to build interest and numbers. They did that on their own accord to help build the future of field hockey. And so I think that is something that we should absolutely celebrate. The varsity sideline cheer, they are hosting youth developmental camps and clinics, and the team took first place in the Riverbend High School Spirit Invitational that took place. We had two individual all Jefferson District golfers, Jack Neely and Seth Bryant, and the golf team advanced those players through the Region 4D, the sub-region, into the region finals. We have a number of players, student athletes in football and field hockey that have consistently earned all district and all regional invitation honors. Our theater team this year placed first in the Region 4D North sub-region. They advanced to the region finals, and one of our students, Lyra Tusing, has won Best Actor now. This is the second time in a row. Boys wrestling has produced 5 state champions in the last 2 years. Girls wrestling has produced 3 state champions in the last 2 years. We host 2 of the best tournaments across the state, one boys and girls, and it's so popular that we can't hold all the teams that have demonstrated interest. We have to turn teams away because we just don't have the capacity. Our girls team has won the state championship 2 years in a row, and it will truly be a state championship now this year as a VHSL sanctioned event, since now girls wrestling is now a VHSL sanctioned sport. And of course, the boys wrestling team won the district last year and produced the most all-district wrestlers of any team. The academic team had another excellent year and made it all the way to the Region 4D finals last year. The indoor track team produced a state meet record breaker, David Norman, who's now a 2-time state champion in the triple jump. And we also have a state finalist shot putter who, for my money, is he's gonna win states this year. Boys and girls basketball have been massively competitive in a tough Region 4D. They've had several all-district players. The baseball team went to the Region 4D semifinals. The softball team, of course, has been very competitive over the last few years, one game away from the state playoffs 2 years ago. Outdoor track has produced state champion triple jumpers and a placer in the shot put. Girls soccer had a wonderful season last year, making the state playoffs and going all the way to the Region 4D finals. And boys and girls lacrosse are quickly becoming competitive playoff contenders. And despite the fact that they have only been a VHSL team for a few years, and there is no super organized youth program yet for lacrosse in the county, and so that is a feather in the cap of those folks. I'd like to thank Mike for sending those along. Laura, if you will go next. Some of our current and upcoming challenges. This is just a brief list that nobody will be surprised on. Population growth and the impact on schools, especially at the eastern end of the county. Navigating the frequent changes being made to and that will be made to the accountability model that I just went through. What's frustrating in a sense is that everything I just told you when we're sitting here next year in the fall, the system's going to look a little bit different, so we're going to have to kind of re-explain it again, and we'll have to re-normalize and re-norm certain numbers so we actually have an apples-to-apples comparison. So, but staying up to date, and it's really the name of the game is know what the rules of the game are so that you know how to play it. Continuing to improve our employee retention rate, recognition, salaries, as well as the general support that our people feel from administrators and their coworkers. That is of vital importance. All of those things have to be working in concert in order to improve our retention rate. Achieving and maintaining competitive salaries, and supporting a greater number of teachers who are career switchers. So we talked a lot about Grand Canyon, and we talked a lot about the interim teacher tag and iTeach. That is doing a tremendous job increasing the numbers of folks. What is important, the other side of that coin, is to remember that those individuals who are walking into our classrooms, where previously most of the new teachers had been through teacher school and had done student teaching and had been they were clinicians. They've been trained to do this work. The vast majority of folks within the parameters that I just shared with you, their student teaching is the first day of school in Orange County Public Schools, right? So it's August, whatever that date is, that is their student teaching, and that puts pressure on us. We have to adjust and amend our support, because it looks tremendously different if you onboard 10 people that have been through student teaching and 10 people that have just switched careers from outside of education that are now in front of the classroom. And that will be something, just let the cat out of the bag a little bit. One of our priorities for the upcoming budget cycle is to get instructional coaches, hopefully as many as we can, but at least one at each level, elementary and secondary. So that they can assist our administrators and our coordinators. We need more people who can be in the classrooms assisting our new folks, because we are increasing our numbers, but the support they need is a much, much different level of support than we used to have to provide. And so that will remain a challenge. And that covers school accreditation, accountability. Some of our greatest successes over the previous year and the previous 3 years, that this board should absolutely be thrilled, should celebrate, as well as an acknowledgement of where we still need to go. And so with that, I will stop and see if there's anything else from any cabinet members or board members.
Any additional questions?
Does Jack want to talk first?
Nope, he said no.
Really? Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Harrington.
Wow. Just
A
wow.
lot we've done.
Thank you. Thank you for that recap and that reminder of all the great things that are going on outside of this boardroom. I'm proud to be a part of a team that supported that, and I am so impressed with your leadership and how hard you have worked to turn some of those numbers around and make the positive changes that we're seeing and feeling. And thank God that we are for our students. You know,
Yes.
I mean, it's been a tough few years, and you should be so proud of yourself, Melissa, for being able to walk out after being a part of this amazing change and opportunity that has
Don't
occurred.
steal my thunder yet, Sandy.
I'm sorry. I won't cry either. Okay.
If it's okay, I guess this would be a little amendment, but on the back of that presentation, we would be sorely remiss if we didn't talk about Mrs. Anderson for just a moment. And so I typed up some words, and I have some other things, and I'd like to give you a gift here, Mrs. Anderson. But I'd like to start with saying that tonight, all of us would like to recognize and thank an outstanding school board member who has served our division and this board with dedication, integrity, and steady leadership. As chair, you've guided us through important decisions, always being thoughtful, fair, and keeping a clear focus on what matters most, our students, staff, and community. Your ability to listen, build consensus, and keep us grounded during challenging moments has made a lasting impact on this board and on the school division as a whole. While your term as chair and board member may be coming to a close, the influence of your service will continue to be felt for years to come. On behalf of the administration, the board, our schools, and our community, I would like to thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to public education. And as the only remaining individual on the dais this evening that brought me here, so on a personal level, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to come to Orange. Those are things that I love it here. My family loves it here. And so thank you for your diligence and your thoroughness and the opportunity. And with that, we would like to, let me just say, very unfortunate for everything that has happened with Ms. Quintern and her family, that she absolutely and her family absolutely remain in our thoughts and prayers. And the sentiment that I just read about Ms. Anderson is a huge ditto for Mrs. Quintern for her time and her expertise. And anybody who is willing to go into an election and put yourself out there as a person and your family out into the public sphere is to be commended. And so I would like to express every sentiment that I lay before you. We have the same for Mrs. Quintern, and when the time is right, we would like to get her gift to her as well. But Mrs. Anderson, on behalf of the board and Ms. Byram and the administration, we would like to present to you, I want to make sure this is basically hand carved, is where you can lay a book as well as a cup holder, and we had it with our new logo as well as the dates of your membership here on the school board, and just wanted to give this as a token of our appreciation for you, for your years of service and for the sacrifices that you have made. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. And of course, we would love to get pictures, et cetera. But wanted to see if any other board members, any cabinet members would like to say anything, and then we will give this to-go bag for you here. But thank you, Mrs. Anderson, for your expertise, your acumen, and your time. I yield it back to the board, and then we can do pictures and all the things that we should do to honor and recognize our outgoing board members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board.
Oh, we don't need any more of that. We can move on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes,
very
ma'am.
much. It's beautiful. So we will, you want to do pictures now?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
We'll get that out of the way.
Whatever you would like.
We'll do a few. I don't know if the family like one
with all of us? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta have lock in here.
Oh, brother.
Seriously? Is the face for real? Congratulations. Are we centered?
No, get in there. You switch this way.
Go this way?
Yep. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. Appreciate you very much.
No, they don't want to. Okay, moving on. Board member items. SBMA Policy Services. Ms. Dawson, would you like to open up discussion on that since this was your baby?
This was my baby. Yeah. So I did forward to the board the information that I got from Mrs. Turgeon about the contract, which all of you, I'm assuming, have seen and read. And the interesting part of it is that their contract runs a fiscal year, typically. So would start in June. So a couple of things that she suggested, if we're interested in pursuing it sooner than that, was the potential of a shorter-term contract that would run from January up until June of the coming year. I think that might be a good option for us. They would have to work out the details of that because it's not their typical, but they are willing to work with us, and that would give us 5 months to experience what they have to offer. I think the pros to that approach would be it's an inexpensive, I think it in the neighborhood of $1,200, I believe, is what she quoted. She thought it would be for what would essentially be a trial run for a very personalized service for Orange County Public Schools in particular. I have some personal experience with the level of detail they put into their work, and I've been very impressed with it. We know it's a fledgling organization, so they're working very hard to prove themselves in the area of board governance, and I think choice is a good thing. So for those reasons, I would recommend considering pursuing that option of a short-term contract for the coming year that would cover this coming session of the General Assembly and whatever school law may come out of that, as well as the beginnings of a review of our policies. I'm done.
Mr. Ricketts?
I think Ms. Harrington has something.
Let's see if I can read my own notes here. As you're very aware, I'm sure, members of the board, I am very interested in reinstating the Virginia School Board Association for policy services. legislation action and other things that they provide, training and such. I have done some research on the School Board Member Alliance. I have some significant concerns relative to both agencies, actually. And I think that we are getting ready to change the board and would prefer not to make any decisions tonight. So I would be willing to have further conversation and discussion and consideration of a School Board Members Association, which is just a contract with the school board members. Am I correct in that?
As I understand it, yes.
And VSBA simultaneously. On one hand, I'm concerned about wanting to spend taxpayer money on two agencies who may potentially offer the same type of service. But I think that there has been some concern over the past couple years relative to ensuring, to the best of our ability, we're able to keep politics and partisanship specifically out of this picture. So I'm willing to have further conversation in the new year when we have our new school board members on board. I would still definitely continue to advocate for VSBA, but I am not saying no to having some level of service with SBMA, so we have a level of comparatives.
I'll be brief. I don't think Ms. Dawson was advocating for any kind of action. I think she was just giving a point of view. So, as Ms. Harrington said as well, I look forward to the first meeting in January and discussing this option with the new board and see what direction we're going to go. But I would agree with Ms. Dawson that a perspective is not a different perspective is not a bad thing.
Thank you. Couple things, just so, obviously, I won't be here in the beginning of the new year, so just so I can point out a few things I think that are imperative. Having somebody reviewing our policies and personally going through the 2-3-inch binders of policies, there's a lot that we're putting on Ms. Byram to make sure that we're updated on a regular basis. I think that having somebody come in and get us all up to date on all of our policies that have not been reviewed or looked at in the last 5 years or more, I think would be imperative. And then I think that it would give our new board members a fresh start coming in, that we know that we're all up to date, and that we can move forward with new items, especially with the new board and also the new legislators. So that would also be, I think, imperative. Referencing the VSBA, this is one part of the VSBA that they did not provide for us. Their contract, and again, this could have changed because this is when we were still members, but the VSBA Policy Services provides a manual of sample policies. Update services include, but not limited to, new and revised sample policies based on statutory law, case law, and Virginia Attorney General opinions. And then just access to staff member attorney to answer questions regarding VA sample policies. So their policy services do not include going back through and looking at all of our policies. So regardless of whether you decide to go back with the VSBA, I think this is an added feature that we do not have from them that would have benefited us, at least in my tenure
in the 4 years, that we've known we would be up to date and ready to move forward with new items. So, so I guess I will leave it all to you to decide what you want to do in the new year. So, anything else? Ms. Harrington, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Dawson?
Ms. Harrington and I had an opportunity, was it Thursday? Thursday morning last week to be sharks at the Shark Tank competition. And I'm probably the only person in the world maybe who's never watched Shark Tank. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But boy, was it instructional. It was amazing. These students were absolutely incredible, and their ideas were incredible, and the work the teachers do with them was incredible. So bravo to those students, and next year, if I'm a shark again, I'll come loaded for bear. I didn't quite understand what I was being asked to do, but now I get it. And man, the students who were sharks were just unreal, just brutal. It was amazing. It was really amazing. So thank you for that invitation, and Ms. Harrington, we had a good time. It was a lot of fun. I also wanted to mention we've been talking for a long time, and sadly I'm afraid we dropped the ball again, Ms. Harrington, on legislative. So I was talking to our newly elected delegate, Karen Hamilton, about a bill to fix the funding formula. And we have missed the deadline for bill filing for this session. So we are going to get on that so that we do not miss a deadline again and make sure that that becomes a focus. And I think the legislative committee should advocate for that. SBMA should advocate for that. VSBA should advocate for that. It absolutely must be done in order for us to be able to move Virginia forward in terms of how we fund our schools in a way that funds students correctly for what we need. And I'd just like to add just a brief comment of appreciation to Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. Quintern. I admire and respect both of them so very much. And we truly do. This board has had the same identified goals. We haven't always had the same ideas about how to get there. We've had some disagreements, some lively discussions about things, but ultimately our hearts have always been with the students of Orange County. And I appreciate, as Dr. Hornick already said, anybody who steps up to an elected office is probably slightly insane, but also to be commended for being able to do that. And especially Mrs. Quintern, I did chat with her briefly, and she was unable to be here tonight, but we know the circumstances of her resignation are heartbreaking. And I want her to know that I personally, and I know many of you, just continue to hold her son Joshua, who's fighting, just a little warrior, 8 years old now, and fighting this battle with Burkitt's leukemia. And Mrs. Quintern is asking for anybody who is willing to contact our Virginia senators, Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, to ask for their support of an act called Give Kids a Chance Act that will help to cut red tape on life-saving access to cutting-edge treatment for kids with cancer. So if you're so inclined to look that up and contact our senators. And Mrs. Quintern, if you're able to hear this, you have my admiration, respect. You're a warrior, and I'm praying daily for you and your family and for little Joshua to win this battle. And we thank you for your service to Orange County Public Schools, and Mrs. Anderson, you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other board comments or future items that we would like to make sure gets on January's agenda?
I do have one future agenda item potentially. I was wondering, Dr. Hornick, I think I mentioned this to you at the Blue Ridge Governor's meeting the other day, Blue Ridge, Virginia Governor's School meeting the other day. It would be nice to have someone from each of those entities that we work with as a board member to maybe either write us something and give us what that is. I can't remember, did we get that when we went through it the first time? 2 years ago. I don't think we've really got any information relative to what the committee was for, or
Yeah.
I mean, if possible. I know that we're going fast, so if possible, even if it's just, a paragraph or something that we can review and what's their core mission, something to that effect.
I would agree. Looking back at it, I ended up on the prep committee, and I had no idea what the prep committee was. I do now, but I didn't then. So
Right.
it would be helpful to sort of have
Got
at least a synopsis of what each of these things are and what the expectations are for us as board members as we serve.
Will do.
And finally, I would just like to say thank you also, Mrs. Anderson. It's been a long couple years, but thank you. I think we have grown to at least have mutual respect for each other's opinions. So
Absolutely.
hopefully.
Absolutely. You're ready to close. I could tell. You haven't even opened your computer. I just want to thank everybody. It's been an honor to sit here with the previous board and then also the new board that I'm sitting with. I did have a bunch of things written down, but I'll keep it short. My oath as a board member is to uphold both the United States and Virginia Constitution. This board is responsible for ensuring that commitment. I hope that we continue to do that as a board and make our constituents proud of Orange County. I'll skip to my next page. I also want to express my gratitude to my constituents for choosing me to represent them. During my campaign, I aimed to help create an educational environment that Orange County families could be proud of. It was an honor to serve alongside Ms. Quintern. She has always made her positions clear and stood up for what she believed in. I deeply respect her determination and strength. My thoughts and prayers are with her and her family as well. During my term, I faced criticism, personal attacks from fellow board members, community activists, and some administrators. These don't bother me. My faith in God brought me here to learn and grow. I know many are pleased with my decision not to seek re-election. But my experience has taught me that public education isn't easily reformed and that alternative solutions are needed for coming generations. Educational challenges existed long before COVID-19. Localities and school boards must reclaim control of local education instead of relying on unelected state agencies. We know what's best for our students. While I appreciate everything that everybody has done for me, I hope that I wasn't too much of a pain in the side for some of you, but I definitely am grateful to be able to experience this, and again, I just appreciate all that you have done. Thank you. And with that, one last time, we're adjourned.
Thank you.